Hey, come on in and welcome to A Win is a Win podcast, where sports and everything else collide. Comfortable? All right. Let's go, Dr. T.
Let's begin with a simple truth. To understand the ambitions and anxieties around Project 2025, you first have to journey back to the 1980s, to a time when a single document, Raegan's Mandate for Leadership, reshaped the American government. But the story isn't just about policy memos and political blueprints. No, it's about the streets, the prisons, and the lives appended by a war that was waged not just on paper, but on people. Sound familiar? In 1981, Ronald Reagan entered the White House armed with Mandate for Leadership, which was a comprehensive conservative policy, and it was a guide crafted by the Heritage Foundation. Now, we've heard of that all throughout Trump's campaign. Now, this document wasn't just a wish list, it was a playbook for transforming the federal government. Agencies were recognized, regulations were slashed, and a new era of conservative governance was born. Now, the agencies that were recognized were agencies that were reorganized. So you take away one agency, reorganize it into something new. Sound like Doge, right? Yeah. The mandate became the template for how to seize the machinery of government and remake it in a new ideological image. But while the administration was busy redrawing the blueprint of Washington, another darker legacy was taking shape. The 1980s saw an explosion in drug activity, especially with the rise of cocaine and its cheaper, more potent derivative, crack. Now, this wasn't a coincidence, it was a crisis. And the Reagan administration's response would define a generation. They put it on the streets. Biggest drug dealer and his administration were the pushers. Reagan declared drugs public enemy number one. Now, let's stop for a minute. You put it on the streets, pushed it into the neighborhoods. You put food stamps out there. You put welfare out there. And then you declare it public enemy number one and launched an aggressive war on drugs campaign. The federal anti-drug funding skyrocketed and new laws imposed harsh mandatory minimum sentences. The infamous 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act created a 100-to-1 sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine, a policy that would devastate Black communities and fuel a surge in mass incarceration. Now, the average prison time for drug crimes jumped from 22 to 33 months. And the federal prison population ballooned and courtrooms filled with drug cases. Sounds very similar to deportation, right? Crack cocaine and what they call America's drug dealer. Now, this era saw crack cocaine and crack flood American cities. The crack epidemic hit the hardest in what they like to call urban, predominantly Black neighborhoods. Now, Let's take a break for a minute. Here's the thing. In the urban areas, I specifically grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. And anywhere on the slabs of East Cleveland, Prospect, Hayden Avenue, you can go up to 116th. I can name many different areas, okay? Just because of what it looked like, the customers were not from that area. They very much were coming from the suburban areas to those areas to buy what was there. Unleashing waves of violence, addiction, and family separation. Despite the administration's tough rhetoric, stories and investigations emerged suggesting that the U.S. foreign policy entanglements such as the Iran-Contra affair may have indirectly facilitated the influx of cocaine into the country, further fueling the epidemic. Let's go back to what I said before. They put the drugs on the streets and then turned around and profited from it by calling it the war on drugs. Now let's tie this in together with this administration. Trump had to figure out how to profit off of deportation. So what did he do? He had to use the war axe and say this was a war, that this MS-13 gang was a threat to the United States. It's all propaganda. The irony was not lost on critics. While Raegan positioned himself as the nation's top drug fighter, the streets told a different story. Some began to refer to him with biting sarcasm as America's drug dealer, a president whose policies, whether by intent or neglect, coincided with one of the most destructive drug waves in U.S. history. The biggest drug dealer that I was aware of growing up was not Frank Lucas, was not Nicky Barnes, was not El Chapo, was not Griselda Blanco. It was Ronald Reagan. Sat the packs down, shipped it in here, flew it in here, and then turned around and locked up everybody for profit because they touched it. Fast forward to today, we have Project 2025. It's often described as the new conservative playbook, and it is a direct descent of the mandate for leadership. Its architects aim to once again reshape the federal government, drawing lessons from the Reagan years. The same think tanks, the same strategies, and in some cases, the same personnel are back, determined to finish what began in the 1980s. Now think about it. These are the people, if you are my age, we're in the 40s, mid 40s. These are the people that we played on the playground with. These are the grandkids that we went to school with of these people. And they were being groomed to do exactly what they are doing right now. Groomed, okay? They have been told through sick versions of Christianity, evangelicals, Zionism, that what they are doing in its purest form is cleansing. And this is what God wants. It's sick. The echoes are unmistakable. the punitive policies of the Raegan era, which we called, when I was growing up, Reaganomics. They continue to reverberate through American society, from overcrowded prisons to fractured communities. The lessons of that time, how policy, ideology, and unintended consequences can collide, are essential for anyone trying to make sense of today's political battles. So as you listen to debates about Project 2025 and all these sick policies with ICE and quote unquote protecting the border and immigration, remember, history isn't just background noise, it's the foundation beneath our feet, built from blueprints and battle cries, from policy memos and powder-filled streets. To understand where America is headed, you have got to know where it's been and who paid the price along the way. Jump down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast, and tell someone and tell somebody else to join the Win is a Win. You could catch us on Apple Podcasts. You could catch us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. If you are listening to us on YouTube, hit that notification bell so that you know when a new episode drops. Leave us a thumbs up. It keeps us in the algorithm. And I'll catch you next week. Peace.